My daughter took my social security check. Went to the beach. She just left me there with nothing to eat. When she came back, she was happy. Had a nice tan from being in the sun. She thought I would be asking her for help by that time. Then she opened the fridge to get something for dinner. What she saw inside really scared her. Greetings, listeners. Before I tell you what happened, I want to tell you that this is a story about my daughter and how she hurt me. It is also about how I decided to think about myself. I would like it if you could support this channel. Please subscribe to this channel. Click the like button. This really helps stories like this get told. So please write in the comments what city or country you are listening from. I really like seeing how many people are listening to stories like this. It is nice to know that there are a lot of people who like the things as me. Now you can listen to the story. The front door had slammed shut 3 hours, but you could still smell the sweet perfume that Quintessa wears in the hallway. That fragrance always seemed strong to me, too overpowering for our old brownstone with its high ceilings where the air was used to smelling like old dust and dried lavender. I stood in the middle of the kitchen staring at the door of the pantry. The silence in the house was really quiet. I used to love the silence of the house. It meant I could finally relax after a day of working on the sewing machine when my eyes were tired from making tiny stitches and my back hurt from bending over all the time. The silence of the house used to be nice. Now the silence of the house just feels empty. Today the silence felt scary. It was waiting for something to happen. My stomach got all tied up in a knot. It is embarrassing to say. I was feeling hungry. Just regular hunger, the kind that gets worse by the evening. I walked over to the cabinet. The hinges made a noise like they were unhappy about being opened. The shelves were very clean. There was nothing on them, which was frightening. Quintessa had packed her things quickly. She ran around the apartment like a colorful bird that wants to fly away, throwing in her swimsuits, summer clothes, and sunscreen into her bag. I recall how she stood in the doorway with her shoes on and stretched out her hand. "Mama, give me your card in case something happens. What if the money machine at the place we are going to does not work?" "Quintessa," I said, trying to tell her no. I felt a little scared. That is all the money I have from my social security check. The thing. What am I supposed to live on for 2 weeks? Oh, do not even start with me. She rolled her eyes at me. Then she snatched the plastic card right out of my fingers. "You have a jar of grits," she said. "All you have to do is boil them and add a bit of butter. They are really good. This will be good for the grits to clean out your system. Doctors tell everyone who's your age that they should eat a healthy diet. Do not make a deal out of nothing when there is no problem. I really deserve this vacation." Then she just left me standing there. She went to Miami, where the sun is always shining. She was probably going to drink cocktails with those little umbrellas in them. She took my money and my peace of mind. It turns out she even took my food. Grits. That is what she mentioned, grits. I remembered I had some grits in a jar on the shelf. I had written grits on the jar myself a time ago, about 20 years ago. When I picked up the jar, it felt like it was empty. I removed the lid. Looked inside the jar. There were a few grains of grits left at the bottom, and they were surrounded by some gray dust. The food was not enough for a bird, let alone a grown woman like me. The woman had not told the truth. Maybe the woman just did not care about me. The woman had not even checked if there was food before saying I had to eat little. The woman just said some words to make me feel better. Then she forgot about me when she got into her Uber. My chest felt very cold. This was not the kind of cold you feel when a door is open. I was feeling really cold inside when I realized the person I took care of and raised is not just thinking of themselves. The person I am talking about is actually very mean. I closed the jar. Put it away. The noise the glass made when it hit the wood was really loud. It was like a bang. I had to do something to take my mind off things. I thought maybe I could find some coins. Quintessa often threw coins over the place. She would shake them out of her pockets. I went to her room. Her room was a mess. Clothes were over the chairs. There are tubes of lipstick on the vanity. The floor is messy with crumpled receipts over the place. I started to look carefully at all the surfaces under a big stack of glossy magazines. I did not find anything. I even checked the jewelry dish. It was empty. Then my eyes landed on a piece of paper that someone had tried to throw away, but it had missed the trash bin. I bent down to pick it up. The hotel reservation and flight itinerary were on this piece of paper. It was a printout. I smoothed out the paper on the tabletop to get a look at the hotel reservation and flight itinerary. The numbers jumped out at me. I saw the total right away. It was a black number and it was harsh. The amount my daughter spent on a beach vacation for 2 weeks was the same as what I get from my benefits for 3 months. 3 months. I was standing in my daughter's room. It was kind of dark. It felt like the walls were moving in on me. For a time I have been fixing my old clothes. I have sewn up my stockings when they got holes. I have even turned coats inside out to make them new again. I had these coats that I was still wearing from a long time ago, even before the year 2000. I did not buy a peach for myself so that I could buy my daughter the best shoes, for school then for college, and later just because she wanted them. My daughter told me, "Mama, this is what people are wearing now." I went out of her room. I closed the door tightly behind me like I was trying to keep out the smell of her not being careful and betraying me. The living room was very quiet. It looked very nice. I went into the living room. In this room, the street lights shine through the curtains and my treasures are standing here. My antique oak buffet is one of them. It is really old and heavy. It has carvings on it. It looks like a big stone. Inside the buffet, behind the glass, I have my crystal and my fine Haveland Limoges porcelain. They do not shine much, but they're nice. I have a lot of plates and cups for 12 people to eat. We have only used them a couple of times. I always thought that we would use them for Quintessa's wedding. Quintessa's wedding never happened and the china is still here waiting. My grandmother gave me a silver tea service and it sits on my dresser. I also have a jewelry box with things I do not wear because I am a woman and I do not go out much. I think I will leave it for my grandchildren. In my closet, I have some fur coats that smell like mothballs. My friend Quintessa says they are useless. She calls them dust collectors. They are actually very valuable. I walked around my living room. I did not like what I saw. This is not a home where people live. It is like a museum. I think it should be called the Quintessa Johnson Museum. It is really my home. The Quintessa Johnson Museum is just a funny name I thought of. I was not the lady of the house. I was the person who took care of everything without getting paid. I walked around in my slippers, cleaned the dust off the things we had, and went hungry so that someday someone could come and take it all away without even saying thank you. My stomach was growling loudly again. This time I heard something else with that noise. It was not anger because anger is a hot feeling. This was something. It was a feeling like ice, a feeling that was very easy to understand. The house and everything in it was still the same. I saw it all in a new way now with a clarity that was like a cold and sharp crystal. I went over to the coffee table where I had a bunch of newspapers. Quintessa always got on my case about not getting rid of them. She would say they were junk trash. I knew that in the back of the newspaper in the part where people put ads there was something I was looking for. I had seen this one thing a week ago. I circled it with a pencil just because I always do that. I was not really thinking I would need it. I did it anyway. So I started looking through the newspapers. Then I found it, the City Chronicle, the page that has all the private ads. The red circle drawn with a pencil was really hard to see in the light, but I knew what the word said. It was an advertisement for Mr. Alistair Sterling, who buys things like antiques, porcelain, silver, and other rare items, and he does honest appraisals and even makes house calls. I looked at the telephone. It was one of those phones with a round dial, the kind that always works. I said to myself, this old phone is reliable. I picked up the part you talking to. The sound I heard was steady and long. Then I started turning the dial to call the number, putting in each number one at a time. Every time I turned the dial, it felt like I was trying to open a safe where I had locked away my life. The phone started ringing. 1, 2, 3. A man answered, his voice a little very polite. Hello. I took a breath and the air was filled with the smell of dust from my museum. Evening, I said. My voice sounded stronger than I thought it would to my own ears. I asked, is this Mr. Sterling? My name is Yuli. I wanted to know, do you buy silver flatware? He said, I do buy silver flatware. I heard a lot of interest in his voice. What time are we talking about with the spoon? I looked at the velvet case where my spoon should have been, then I looked at the buffet. Yes, it was from the 20th century, I said. I want to sell my spoon tomorrow. Mr. Sterling turned out to be on time. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the doorbell rang and cut through the silence of my brownstone. It made me jump. I did not sleep all that night. I was sitting in the armchair across from the buffet. It was like I was guarding something. I was not guarding it from people who do not have enough money. I was guarding it from myself because I was too willing to give in. I got up, opened the door. A man was standing in the doorway. The man was 60 years old. He was wearing a gray coat and glasses with wires around the frames. He looked like a smart person. He was a man and he looked important. His eyes told a different story. His eyes were sharp. He noticed everything. They showed that he was a man who was used to judging the food I eat and the clothes I wear and the man I am, the buffet and the armchair and the man myself. Mrs. Yulia Listister asked me, tilting his head a bit. He said he was a Listister. We had talked the day. He told me to come in. He said I should not take off my shoes. I stepped back so a Listister could come inside. A Listister walked into the living room. I saw a Listister look around the room at the walls. A Listister looked at the furniture and the paintings on the wall. A Listister had thought he would see a grandmother's house with lots of cheap decorations and fancy things that were not very valuable. A Listister probably thought he could get some money from me. When he saw the stuff in the room, his eyebrows went up a bit. He said, "You have an interesting place here," in a careful way. I said, "This is not a house," in a tone. "It is a place where we store things," I added. Then I walked over to the side table. I picked up a big box that was lined with old velvet. The box made a sound when I opened it. I lifted the top up, and inside the box there were 12 silver spoons on the green cloth. The silver spoons were really big. They had complicated designs on the handles. My great-grandparents had these special letters made, all connected with grapevines. Quintessa really loved them. She would often take them out, run her fingers over the metal, and say, "When I get married, Mama, we will use these to eat cake on our anniversary." These letters were part of her things that she was supposed to have when she got married. She did not even take them with her when she left, after spending all my money. Mr. Sterling put on gloves, took out a special tool from his pocket, and leaned over the table to take a closer look at the monograms of my great-grandparents. The room was really quiet except for the sound of him breathing and the soft noise of metal when he slowly turned a spoon. He said Gorham Chantilly pattern, mostly talking to himself. He thought it was made early. It looked great. These things have not been used much. I told him no, they have never been used. People just looked at them, liked them. He stood up straight, took off his glasses, and looked at me in a way. "This thing is hard to find. It costs a lot of money. In situations like this, people usually get the scrap price. That is just not right." He told me how much he could give me. The amount of money he named was really big. It was as much as I make in 5 months. If someone had offered me that money a month ago, I would have been incredibly happy. I would have taken the money, put it away somewhere safe for when I really need it. Now I feel different about it. The money he offered me, which was a lot, did not make me as happy as it would have before. Something inside me has. I see the money, the 5 months' worth of money, in a different way now. I spent a lot of time at fabric markets, where I had to negotiate for every bit of silk to help my clients save money. That experience really paid off now. "No," I said in a voice. A Listister looked surprised. "Excuse me," I said, looking back at him. "This is Gorham." Period. I repeated what he said, staring straight into his eyes. "These things are perfect. A set in the original case and not a single scratch on them. You will be able to sell these to a collector for 3 times the price you offered to me. I am not asking for the market price, Mr. Sterling. I am asking for a dealer's price." I named my figure for the car. It was 40% higher than his offer for the car. Wrinkles gathered at the corners of his eyes. "You, Mrs. Yulee, are not as simple as you seem to be. Life teaches you things," I said to him. "Right, we have a deal for the car." He stopped for another second, thinking about whether to negotiate the price. It seemed he realized that the person in front of him was not some old lady who needed the money, but someone he was doing business with. So they made a deal. 10 minutes later, he walked out carrying the case with him. I was still standing in the middle of the room holding a big pile of money in my hand. My heart was beating fast. It was up in my throat. I was not scared. It was the excitement that was making my heart beat fast. I had just sold Quintessa's dowry. I sold something that had been in my family for a time, and I did not feel guilty about it. The weight I had been carrying around for years started to lift a little bit. I did not try to hide the money I got from selling the family history. I just put it in my purse. Put on my good coat, the beige cashmere one that I only wear on special occasions. Then I walked out of the house. My legs just started walking on their own. They did not take me to the cheap supermarket. I usually go to the one with the yellow stickers on everything and the old cabbage that is always wilted. I was walking downtown to the Epicurean market. It had been a long time since I was last there, like 15 whole years. The prices at the Epicurean market were so high that they were really scary. It was even scary to look at the things in the windows. Today, I did not plan to look at the prices. The big heavy doors swung open before me. I was hit with the smell of fresh baking, coffee, and really expensive spices. I walked past the shelves feeling like a queen who was coming home after being away for a long time. I did not look at the potatoes at the Epicurean market. I did not look for pasta at the Epicurean market. I went to the deli counter. I said to the clerk, "I would like you to weigh me out half a pound of prosciutto di Parma, please." I also asked for some of that Virginia ham. Then I walked over to the cheese section. I picked up a wedge of Parmesan and a soft brie with truffles. I also grabbed a jar of olives that were stuffed with almonds. I bought a baguette that was still warm and crusty. Then I saw the peaches. The peaches were huge and velvety. They looked like they were filled with sunshine. They were lying on a woven tray. The peaches really caught my eye. These things are not available all the time. They have to be brought in from places. The special things I wanted were really expensive, like a part of an airplane. I picked out 2 of the ones. Then I went to the part of the store where they sell food from the sea. They had salmon that was smoked in a way it was cut into thin pieces, and it looked really nice in the light. It was like the color of the sun when it sets. I left the store with 2 bags made of paper. The bags were not heavy. They had a lot of good food in them, more good food than all the grits I have bought in the last 10 years. At home, I did not eat in the kitchen on the oil tablecloth. I went into the living room. I took a snow tablecloth with handmade lace out of the sideboard. Quintessa told me not to use the snow tablecloth with handmade lace. "You will stain the snow tablecloth with handmade lace, Mama," she said. "The snow white tablecloth with lace is for guests," she said. "Today I am the guest," I said aloud to the room. I spread the snow tablecloth with handmade lace on the table. I took out the plate from that very service. The plate was made of porcelain with a gold rim. I laid out a fork on the plate on the snow white tablecloth with handmade lace. I still had forks. I also had a lot of knives and dessert spoons. The only thing I did not have was teaspoons because I had sold them. Then I laid out all the things I had bought. I made the ham look nice by rolling it into circles. I cut the cheese into cubes. I had olives and salmon and warm bread. I broke the bread into pieces with my hands. It fell apart right onto the tablecloth. I also had a peach. When I bit into the peach, the sweet juice splashed over my lips. The peach tasted good. Eating the food was not about the taste of the food. The taste of freedom was really something. It made me feel like I am important and that my body and my desires actually matter. I took my time eating, enjoying every bite. I had a cup of tea with it from a special cup. I looked over at the wall where my calendars, and it hit me. I have been putting things off for a future that may never even happen. All these years I was waiting for someone to notice what I was giving up. The thing is, people do not really appreciate it when you give things up for them. Sacrifices are just not appreciated. I used them. When I was done, there were crumbs left on the plate. I felt full in a way that I had not felt in a long time. It was a nice fullness. I got up, walked over to the sideboard. The spot where the spoon case used to be was empty now. The dust there was a little lighter. It made a rectangle shape. I put my hand in my coat pocket, pulled out the long receipt from the gourmet market. I took my time to make it look nice. Put it right in the middle of that light-colored rectangle where we usually keep the family silver. The receipt had a list of all the food we bought. The word total was written really big. I looked at myself in the glass on the sideboard. I smiled. I said dinner to myself. It was a normal dinner. The week went by fast, like one long day with nice weather. I woke up when the sun shone on my pillow, not because my alarm clock was ringing telling me to go to the discount store. I had croissants with butter for breakfast, not just oatmeal. I was sitting in my armchair with a glass of wine, a Cabernet from 2015 that the person at the wine store had told me about. The phone rang. It was a ring. I knew who was calling without answering it. Only Quintessa calls like that, like the phone is sorry it did not ring earlier. I said hello. I picked up the phone, held it to my ear, but I did not put down my glass of Cabernet. The Cabernet was still in my hand as I waited to see what Quintessa wanted. Mama. My daughter's voice broke into my time. The ocean was loud, in the background seagulls were crying out. Some music was playing to a beat. How are you doing there? Are you still okay? My daughter's voice had a lot of worry in it, and she sounded like she thought she was better than me, which made the wine taste bad for a second. I am alive, Quintessa, I was thinking, she said, loudly, talking over the sound of the waves. You are probably bored, all alone and hungry. You cook those grits. Make sure to add more water. The food is more filling that way. Old grandma's recipe, remember? I took a sip of the wine. The velvety taste of the wine returned, washing away the bitterness of her words. I am managing, I answered her calmly. Do not worry. Oh, come on, she said. Do not put on a face, old grandma chuckled. I know you have got nothing to eat at your place. It is okay. Hold on for another week. By the way, I saw a fridge magnet that's for you, and it is shaped like a dolphin. If you do not run up the bill while I am gone, that is. I know you. You will probably forget to turn off the light in the bathroom. Then I will have to pay for it. She spoke to me like I am a kid who does not know what to do. It is like I am a problem that needs to be taken care of even when she is really away. Before, I would have started making excuses for the bill. I would have said, no, baby, I am saving the electric bill money. I do not even turn on the television. Now I just smiled at my reflection in the dark window. I am finding resources that Quintessa did not even suspect existed, I said, looking at the wine bottle on the table. So do not worry about the lights. Resources. She laughed again. There was so much smugness in that laugh. What are you talking about? Did I find some change in the sofa? Did I go to Miss Theodosia for salt? I am finding these resources. That is what I am talking about, these resources that Quintessa did not even know about, these resources that I am discovering. Look, do not embarrass me in front of the neighbors. Do not go around asking people for things with your hand out. Right, I have to go now. We're having a pool party at our place. Do not get bored at our house with your porridge. She hung up the phone. She was confident in her complete power over me, her power over the pool party and everything else. In my life, the way she sees it, I am sitting in a kitchen at this moment eating some boring oatmeal and counting the days until she comes back. When she gets back, I will be happy to take a gift from her like a magnet. I will also have to listen to her complain about me again. The woman thinks she has changed me, that making me hungry all the time has worked. I drank all the wine. I could feel it making my body warm. I said, pool party again, and I put the glass on the table. I have my things I want to do too. I picked up the notebook that was sitting next to the phone. The page that was open had a time already written on it. It said tomorrow at 11 o'clock. It also said a list of stress. I was going to sell the wardrobe. You know, that big oak closet in the hallway. It is really huge. It takes up a lot of space. The hallway is narrow. The closet makes it even narrower. I always get my sleeves caught on the carved corners of the closet. It is a closet, so it is worth a lot of money. I do not like it. The closet is like a spot in the hallway. It makes the hallway look dark because it absorbs all the light. Then I talked to Quintessa and I changed my mind about selling the wardrobe. The wardrobe is too much trouble. I do not want to deal with movers and all the noise and dust that comes with it. I was looking for something that would really get to her, something that would hurt her feelings as much as her words hurt me when she said I was watering down the grits. I got up, walked to the dresser in the bedroom. The dresser in the bedroom has a lot of my things in it. I went to the drawer of the dresser in the bedroom and I found another jewelry box. This jewelry box was smaller than the one. I opened the jewelry box. Inside the jewelry box on a soft velvet cushion lay a really pretty brooch. The brooch was a gold piece that was shaped like a twig with leaves on it. The leaves on the brooch were covered in diamonds, and there was a big dark ruby in the center of the brooch. The brooch was really beautiful. I thought it was just what I needed. The ruby was like a drop of really thick blood. Quintessa really loved this brooch. She would just take it whenever she wanted, like when she was going out on a date or to an office party. She would say to her mom, "Mama, this brooch is old, it is really popular now." Then she would pin the brooch to her blazer. Quintessa thought the brooch belonged to her just like our apartment belonged to her, just like I belonged to her. I held the brooch in my hands, the brooch that Quintessa loved much. The stone felt cold at first. It warmed up fast in my hand. I thought about what happened with Quintessa when she lost the clasp from it. She did not even say sorry. She just said, "Fix it, you can sew things," and that was it. So I fixed it. The day Mr. Sterling was coming to look at our old clothes and say how much they are worth. He was not going to take them with him. In the morning, the man who buys and sells things was being very careful, as he always is. "Good morning, Mrs. Ulley." He tipped his hat. "Are you ready to get rid of the giant in the hallway?" I shook my head. Invited him to come in. "I have changed my mind about the wardrobe, Alistair. For now I have changed my mind about the wardrobe. It is too much fuss. I have something else that is more personal." I held out the brooch to Alistair. Mr. Sterling's eyes got really excited in a kind of way. He took the brooch carefully, held it up to the light. Then he put on his loupe to take a closer look. "Oh," he said, as he let out a breath. "This thing looks like it was made in St. Petersburg in the 1800s. I think it is probably from New Orleans and was made by a Creole craftsman. The ruby is real. It has not been heated up to make it look better. It is a deep color. The diamonds are mine cut. This piece has a lot of character." I wanted to know how much it cost. So I asked him. He told me the price. It was 2 times more than the spoons. That is a lot of money. You could live comfortably for 6 months with that money. You could have a really great time for 2 weeks. I said I would take it. I did not try to get him to lower the price this time. The ruby and the old mine-cut diamonds are really something. This piece, with the ruby and the old mine-cut diamonds, is very unique. The price was fair. I really wanted to get rid of the brooch. When a listister counted out the bills, I looked at the brooch one time. The brooch lay on the table. It was sparkling in a sunbeam. The brooch was beautiful, it was predatory, the brooch was alien. A listister said, as he put the brooch into a pouch, "You know the brooch surely has a history." The brooch does have a history. I nodded as I took the money from a listister. Now the history of the brooch has ended. Now the brooch is stone and metal. I was alone again. I looked at the spot in the jewelry box where the ruby used to lie. It was empty. This empty feeling was not scary. It felt like something new could happen. I picked up the phone, dialed the number of the food delivery service from that restaurant I always walk past. I always look down when I walk past it, so I do not see the prices on the menu. I said hello when someone answered. "I want to order some food." "Yes, I want it delivered to my place." "Write this down." "I want a crab and avocado salad and veal medallions with mushroom sauce." For a moment, I thought about what Quintessa said about water in the grits. "I also want a bottle of champagne, the one you have." I hung up the phone. I felt a lot of energy inside me. Quintessa is coming back in a week. When she gets back, she will probably look for her old brooch so she can show off her tan and her new jewelry to her friends. Let Quintessa look for it. I would drink to her health. I would also drink to the fact that I found some help. I did not find this help in the sofa. I found it in my own self-respect. I had finally gotten my self-respect back. The champagne was bubbling in my glass. It was making lots of bubbles that were rising from the bottom of the glass. Then something happened and the happy feeling went away. When I opened the drawer of the secretary desk, I was searching for the certificate for the painting. The painting is a landscape with a river by an artist from the late 19th century, and it hangs in the living room. I remember a listister saying that if we have papers for the painting, the price of the painting would be higher. The drawer was full of receipts and warranty cards for appliances that broke a long time ago. There were also old papers that Quintessa had thrown into the drawer over the years. The painting is really important to me. I want to find the certificate for the painting. I was going through the papers. I got really annoyed. I put the instructions for the iron and the hair dryer to the side. Then my fingers touched a plastic folder that was stuck under a bunch of old Essence magazines. The folder did not belong to me. I would never buy something that loud. I pulled the folder out so I could see it better. Inside the folder there were sheets of paper stapled together. On top of the papers was a brochure that looked pretty cheap. The paper was not good. The printing was bad. There were pictures of old people smiling and playing checkers. Restful Meadow State Facility for Veterans and Seniors. The name of Restful Meadow State Facility sounded familiar to me. I think I had heard about Restful Meadow State Facility before. My neighbor, Miss Theodosia, had told me some things about Restful Meadow State Facility. She said it always smelled like bleach and boiled cabbage. Miss Theodosia also said the staff at Restful Meadow State Facility was really rude. The old people at Restful Meadow State Facility would just lay in bed for days staring at the ceiling because nobody at Restful Meadow State Facility cared about them. It is a state institution. It is the cheapest one. Restful Meadow State Facility has a bad reputation. People say it is a place where they send you to wait for the end of your life to be forgotten at Restful Meadow State Facility. My hands started to shake. I put the brochure away, picked up the next paper. It was a draft of a power of attorney. My name was at the top. Quintessa Johnson was listed as the agent. Then I saw a list of things she could do for me. She could manage all my property, sell my estate, and take care of my interests at the hospital. Someone had written a date in the margin with a pencil. It was for a month right after Quintessa Johnson gets back. The world tilted when I saw that. Quintessa Johnson was going to have a lot of power over my life. I grabbed the edge of the table so I would not fall. The air in the room became really thick all of a sudden. This was not about her being selfish. The inheritance was a part of the inheritance plan. It was a calculated inheritance plan. She was not just waiting for me to die so she could get the inheritance. She was really tired of waiting for the inheritance. So she decided to take matters into her hands and get rid of me to get the inheritance. I want to go to Restful Meadows just like you would get rid of something useless. I want to sell all my things, get some money, and just live easily even if I am stuck in some government place. She just smiled at me, took my card, and went on a trip to the sea, and I had to pay for it. I knew that in a month she would throw me out of my house. I did not cry, but I was so angry that I thought I would shout. I really did. I was furious. I wanted to scream. I did not say a word. Meadows, that is where I will end up all alone with no one to care for me, and she will just take everything I have, including my home. I was so angry that I had to do something. Before I used to sell things just so I could buy food and treats for myself. Now things were different. This was like a fight. I threw the folder back into the drawer. I did not close it. I left it open so I would remember what I had to do. I picked up the phone. I dialed the number. It took a time for someone to answer. When Mr. Sterling finally answered, I said hello. My voice was loud and clear. It is me, Ellie. Have you gone away? Mr. Sterling asked me with surprise. I am still in the neighborhood, Ellie, he said. Did something bad happen? Did you find something that caught your attention? I found a reason to do this. I cut him off because I had made up my mind. Come back. Bring a truck so we can get started. We are clearing everything out of this place. He sounded really surprised. Asked if everything was really going. I mean everything. Mrs. Yulee, are you really sure about this? He thought I was making a mistake. That is a decision, he said. I was absolutely sure. I am selling the painting on the wall, the clock, the rug on the floor, and that fancy service in the buffet. I want to get rid of everything that has any value. Come immediately, I told him. The next 2 hours were a blur. Passed in a fog. Then a lister arrived with 2 guys who could help us lift the heavy things. My life was being taken away piece by piece. They took down the picture of the landscape with the river from the wall. Now there is a light spot on the wallpaper where it used to be. The old grandfather clock, which has been marking time in my apartment for the 50 years, stopped making its usual noise and got wrapped up in bubble wrap. The Persian rug, which is really old but still looks nice, was rolled up into a heavy roll. I just stood there, watched as the room became empty. The Persian rug and the grandfather clock and the picture of the landscape with the river were all gone. I was left standing in a room. As they took out each thing, I felt like I could breathe a little better. It was like they were not just taking away furniture, but the heavy feelings that were weighing me down. My apartment was starting to feel bigger and lighter. It was really mine now. It did not feel like a museum, just a place to live. A lister was writing checks, counting out money. The amount of money was getting bigger and bigger. It was a lot of money for someone who is retired. Are you sure you will not regret doing this? Alistair asked in a voice as the movers took out the last box of porcelain. I will regret one thing, Alistair, I said to him looking at the empty wall. That I did not do this sooner. When the door closed behind them, I was left alone in the hallway that was echoing. In my hands I had a bag that was full of money, a lot of money. I did not wait. First I called a company that cleans houses. I need them to clean my place well. They have to wash the windows and the walls and the floors, everything, so that there is not a speck of dust left. It smells really fresh in here, not old all. I need a crew to come over today. I am willing to pay them double the money. The dispatcher I was talking to on the phone was really surprised. They agreed to send someone right away. Then I went to the website of a fancy grocery store that delivers food to famous people and rich business people. I started looking at all the things they had for sale on the website. I did not even pay attention to how much they cost. I saw caviar, beluga caviar. It came in little jars that were 4 ounces and 8 ounces, so I added those to my cart. They also had truffles, the kind that are in season right now, so I added those to my cart too. And they had gras, which is made from whole duck liver, so I added that to my cart as well. I want to buy some things. I will add to my cart some old champagne, it is called Dom Perignon, and some unusual fruits like dragon fruit, nanguine, and papaya. I also want to add to my cart some cheeses and cured meats and handmade chocolate. I kept clicking and clicking on the things I wanted to buy until the total cost was more than what I pay every year to stay at the Meadows nursing home. I told the person on the phone that I want my order to be delivered today. I confirmed my order so that it can be done soon as possible. By the evening, my apartment was really clean and shiny. The windows were really clear so the sun that was setting could shine in. Now the living room was filled with a golden light. It was empty. It smelled like someone had used a lot of cleaning stuff and flowers. I had bought a bunch of flowers just to make the place look pretty. Then the delivery guy rang the doorbell. He did not come by himself. There were 2 men. They were having a hard time carrying these big insulated boxes. We walked into the kitchen. The fridge, a Kelvinator that always worked and made a loud noise like a big machine, was in the corner. I opened the fridge door wide. The room was empty and clean. There was 1 light bulb and it was shining down on the white shelves. I said, "Load it up," and the delivery people looked at each other, but they started working. On the shelf there were lots of blue jars of caviar all lined up. Next to the caviar were blocks of golden butter and some packages of truffles. The middle shelf was full of all kinds of cheeses and meats that people like to eat. When I opened the drawer where the vegetables are usually kept, I did not see any carrots or beets like I normally do. Instead, I saw some cool and weird fruits from another world, and they were all brightly colored. The caviar and the truffles and the cheeses were all still there. Now the weird fruits were on display too. Bottles of champagne were lying on their sides on the rack. The fridge was getting really full. It was getting very heavy with all the food. The shelves were bending down a bit under all the weight of the fancy food. There was much food in here that a whole group of soldiers could eat for a long time if they only ate the best things. The delivery guy asked me if that was all. He was wiping the sweat from his forehead. I said yes to him. Then I told him to try and fit that box of chocolates on the fridge door. When they were done, the fridge was really full. There was not enough space for a small box of matches. This was not a normal fridge. It was like a treasure cave, with food and drinks instead. I paid the people who brought all the food, gave them a lot of money to say thank you, and shut the door after they left. I went to the fridge, took hold of the handle, and opened the door. The light from the bulb inside the fridge was shining on the gold wrapping of the champagne bottles and the shiny containers of caviar. The cold air in this room did not smell like soup and medicine, it smelled like wealth. I got up, looked at all the food. This was my answer, my shield, my sword. Quintessa wanted to get rid of me so I would not get my inheritance. Now my inheritance is right here in the fridge, cold and ready to eat, and Quintessa is not going to get any of it. I shut the fridge door. The sound of the door closing was like a decision had been made. I did not have to wait long. 2 weeks of not talking to each other finally came to an end at noon when I heard a key being put into the lock. I was sitting in the kitchen with my back to the hallway drinking coffee. It was coffee, not tea, and it was strong and smelled good. The cup I was holding was very thin, you could almost see through it. I did not move. I just waited to see what would happen next. Then the door opened hard and hit the wall. Suddenly I could hear all the noise from the street outside. I could also smell the fuel from airplanes and the hot asphalt from the road. It all came into our apartment at once. "Mama, I'm home." Quintessa's voice was really loud, like a celebration. "I hope you have said sorry for what you did before I went away. I am very tired from my trip. I do not want to hear you complaining." Then there was a noise from the suitcase wheels scraping on the floor. Quintessa came in thinking it would be a little dark, smelling like a hospital, and seeing me walking towards her with slippers on, looking down. She thought she would see Quintessa's victim, someone who's sad, hungry, and feeling guilty. Instead, she was met by a smell, not of old things but of fresh flowers, a huge bunch of which stood in a vase on the floor, and the subtle smell of my new perfume, sandalwood and jasmine. Quintessa froze on the threshold. I heard her sniffing the air, trying to figure out what was going on. "What is that smell?" she asked, sounding suspicious. "Did you spill something that makes the air smell nice or something?" She took a step forward, then suddenly stopped. The sound of her heels was really loud. "Wait a minute." She sounded a little confused. "Why is it so empty in here?" She looked around the room. Her eyes went to the floor where the big Persian rug used to be. You know, the one that always had dust on it. Now it was gone. She looked over at the corner where her grandfather's old floor clock used to stand. She remembered how the ticking of that clock used to drive her crazy when she was a kid. Now the corner was empty. Just a clean wall with nothing on it. The sound of her heels was still echoing. "Mama," she said, not as loud now. Then she shook her head. She did not like the feeling she had. "Okay, we will figure out later where you put everything. I am really hungry." The food on the plane was bad. She put her purse on the floor, walked to the kitchen. I did not turn around to look at her. I just drank some tea and put the cup on the plate that goes under it. It made a noise when it touched. The sound was really quiet. I could hear it clearly. Quintessa came into the kitchen. She had a sunburn. It was so bad that her skin was red. Her nose was peeling too. She had on a sundress with flowers all over it, which looked totally out of place in our super clean kitchen. "So, what is there to eat?" she asked in a tone without even saying hello to me. "I am sure you did not make anything except your porridge. I am really hungry. I could eat a sandwich now, even if it has butter on it, as long as the butter is not bad." She walked past me like I was just a chair or something. I sat up straight, squared my shoulders, wearing this brand new silk robe that is emerald green, but she did not even notice the emerald green robe or how calm I was. The woman was really hungry. She was used to being in charge, so that is all she could think about. She walked up to the refrigerator and her hand, which had nail polish that was chipped, reached out to grab the handle of the refrigerator. She was getting ready to tell me off about what a hostess I was, and how she was tired of doing everything herself, and how our fridge was almost empty. "Open it," I said in a voice. Quintessa did not hear me. She just did not listen. She pulled the door hard, like she wanted to pull it right off. The door swung open, the light came on, and Quintessa let out a scream. It was not a scream because she was hurt. She let out a scream of fear and confusion. It was like she had seen something that really scared her, like the head of Medusa, that monster from stories. In front of her there were a lot of things packed tightly from the floor to the ceiling. At the level of her eyes there were stacks of blue jars, and inside those jars was black caviar, the really expensive kind called beluga, which is very rare. There were a lot of these jars, dozens of them, and they were all shiny under the light. Lower down on the shelf, where the cabbage usually went bad, there were bottles of Dom Perignon with labels that seemed to be staring at her. These bottles of Dom Perignon had years on them. They looked at her with silence, like they were unhappy. There were also wheels of cheese that were wrapped in brown paper. The truffles were in glass containers, and they looked like really expensive rocks. The dragon fruit was a pink color. There were mangoes and also purple mangoes, which are called mangosteen. This kitchen had never seen many colors before. It was like a party. On the door of the fridge of the usual ketchup and mayonnaise there were a lot of boxes of Belgian chocolates and jars of foie gras. The fridge was completely full. The fridge was so full that it was making a noise like it was complaining about all the food inside. The Dom Perignon and the Belgian chocolates and the mangoes and the dragon fruit were all making the kitchen feel very happy and exciting. I was having a celebration in the middle of a really tough time. But the tough time was not a sickness, it was the fact that I did not have money, and I had finally gotten rid of that problem. Quintessa was standing there with her hands over her mouth. Her eyes were really wide open. She looked totally shocked. She kept looking forth from the fancy food to the expensive champagne, and from the champagne to the fancy truffles. Her mind just could not understand what she was seeing. I mean, someone like me who is used to eating food should not have a fridge full of fancy things like a rich person from Arab would have. Quintessa said what she managed to get the word out. Her voice got really high. What is this thing? She put out a hand and touched a cold jar of caviar. She was checking to see if it was really there. The jar was cold and heavy. Quintessa looked at me. Her face turned white. Her tan did not look good anymore. It looked like a mark. Mama, where did this come from? I turned my head slowly, looked at Quintessa. There was no fear in my eyes. I did not look at Quintessa with love. I just looked at her calmly. I was really hungry, Quintessa, I said. You took my card. I had to think of something. Quintessa grabbed a jar of caviar from the shelf. She was holding it like it was something that could explode. The metal was hitting against her rings. What is going on? She yelled, pointing the jar at me. Where did you get the money to buy this? This caviar is very expensive. Did you take something that does not belong to you? Did you borrow money from someone? Do you know how much you will have to pay back, Quintessa, with all the money they add on? Quintessa was really upset. She did not wait for an answer. She ran around the kitchen fast. Her eyes moved around quickly. Then she stopped all of a sudden and her eyes went to the hallway that leads to the living room. The kitchen was empty. It was starting to sink in. She had missed this feeling when she first came in. She tossed the jar on the table. The jar rolled and made a noise. It almost knocked over my cup, and she ran into the room. The emptiness of the living room and the kitchen was really starting to bother her. She was running to see what was going on in the living room. I heard her stomping around. Then I heard the sound of drawers opening and closing. Then she let out a scream. It was a scared scream. She was yelling, "Where is the jewelry box, Mama?" She ran out into the room, and she was holding this empty velvet case that we keep the spoons in. The case was wide open. It looked really empty. The spoons, our silver spoons, were gone. She was having trouble breathing. She was gasping for air. She was also looking for the ruby brooch and the clock. She was saying, "Mama, where's the clock?" She looked around the room. Now she was seeing all the things that were missing. There were spots on the wallpaper. You could tell that paintings used to hang there. The corner is empty without the clock. The parquet floor is bare without the rug. We have been robbed, she said slowly. Her face looked really scared. Lord, when I was away, you let someone into our home. You forgot to lock the door, which's really bad. This is a situation, she thought to herself. We need to call the police now, she said, and she grabbed her phone. Her fingers were shaking as she tried to unlock the screen. Do not call the police, Quintessa, I told her. My voice was very quiet. Then something strange happened, and it was like a big wake-up call. I put the cup on the saucer. It made a loud noise. Clink. This sound was short. It stopped her from being so scared. What do you mean there is no need to worry? She looked at me like I had lost my mind. Do you not get it? They took all of our things. The things they took are worth a lot of money, millions. Nobody stole anything from us. I looked at her. My eyes were calm and steady. I sold the things that were valuable. I sold it. The phone fell from her hands. Hit the floor with a thud. Did you sell it? She said this in a voice. The word sell was not something she knew well. It sounded strange to her. Who did you sell it to? Why did you do that? I already told you. I was very hungry. I got up, walked over to the table where the jar of caviar was. I picked up the jar. It felt nice and cool. You took my check, Quintessa, and you left me a jar of grits that was empty, and a person needs to eat, so I made a decision. I stopped for a moment. Enjoyed it. I thought it would be an idea to have your brooch for breakfast. I put it on toast with butter. It was really nice. The day before that I drank grandfather's clock. The mahogany tasted great, the Chateau Margaux kind. She started to understand what was going on. I could see her thinking hard, trying to figure things out. She looked at the walls and the full fridge, and she saw that I was very calm. Her face started to look different. Fear turned into anger. Then it hit her. Something very bad had happened. She looked at the jar I was holding and did not see food. The jar was like a treasure to her. It was like her home, her car, and her easy life, which I had just eaten as a snack. You, she said in a tone taking a step closer to me. You ate what my family left me. You ate the things that were worth a lot of money. Are you crazy? That was my money. It belonged to me. I saved it. You think you saved it? I laughed. You did not even bother to wipe the dust off it, Quintessa. You just stood there waiting for me to leave the house. You are crazy, she yelled at Quintessa. Old woman, she said. How could you do this to our family heirloom? It holds a lot of memories for our family. I had to stop her. What memories are you talking about? I asked her. Are you talking about the memories of when we were poor and had to sit on chests because we could not afford anything else even though we had a lot of gold at home? No, daughter, Quintessa said to me. These things were objects and they served their purpose. They helped the people who owned them. Quintessa quickly got up, went to the refrigerator. She was really shaking. I will save it, something, she shouted, grabbing everything she could from the shelves. This stuff can be returned, sold back to the store. I will not let you take this away from me. She grabbed 2 jars of caviar and a bottle of champagne, holding them close to her chest like they were kids she just saved. Give it back to me, she said loudly, seeing that I was not moving. This stuff is mine. I will take it back to the store where I bought it. Do you have the receipt for the caviar and the champagne? I saw this woman, a grown-up person, acting like a kid who wants everything. Her face was dark from the sun. It was all twisted up because she wanted something so bad. I just felt sick to my stomach when I looked at her. So I went up to her. She took a step back, pushed herself against the open door of the fridge. I told her to put it back. She said no, started yelling like a little kid. She kept saying, it is my money, it is my money. Then I hit the table with my hand. It made a noise. It sounded very clear and firm. The cup jumped on the saucer. I said, put it back. My voice was still firm. I had never spoken to Quintessa like that before, not even when she was a girl. The dinner was mine. She did not have any money to buy her own. She had spent all her money at the beach, remember? Quintessa froze. She had never seen me act like this before. Usually she knew me as Mama Mouse or Mama Shadow. Now she was seeing a different person, the mistress of the house. She tried to say something. Her fingers let go of the cup anyway. I told Quintessa again, saying each word clearly. You have no money, Quintessa. She came to our apartment. My mother has no check. I thought to myself, did she want us to go hungry? Well, now we will go hungry together. I will be eating something nice, caviar. Quintessa will have to watch me. This is my food bought with the money I earned. Quintessa slowly put the jars on the table. She looked like she was in a lot of pain. The champagne bottles made a noise, glass hitting glass. You will regret this, she. Angry tears flashed in her eyes. You will really regret this. The woman said that the man was clearly not thinking clearly. A normal person would not do something like this. She stood up straight. A new scary determination appeared on her face. The woman was calling a doctor now. The man was dangerous to himself and other people. The man was selling off property in a fit of madness. The woman thought that the man needed to be treated. The transaction would be declared invalid. The woman was very upset with the man and his decision to sell the property. She turned around, ran out of the kitchen, grabbing her phone from the floor as she went. Hello, 911, I need an ambulance and I need help. It is really urgent. My mother is having an episode right now. I stood there, listened as she talked to the people at 911. I did not feel scared. I picked up the jar of caviar that my mother had been holding. I opened it. The sound of the lid opening was loud. It sounded like the start of a race. The caviar jar made a clicking sound. I told her to try it, I said softly, picking up the grains with a spoon. I wanted her to try and prove it to me. Then the doorbell rang 20 minutes later. Quintessa was running around the hallway like she was hurt or something, grabbing the phone and running to the window. After a while, she let out a breath, rushed to open the door. Come in fast, she said. She is in the kitchen. Quintessa thinks she is not good enough. When I looked at the doorway, I did not see people in white coats, like the ones you see at hospitals. Miss Theodosia was standing there, our neighbor from upstairs, wearing her flower print housecoat. Behind her was a Leicester Sterling. He came to get the box of books that we had talked about that morning. Quintessa. Miss Theodosia looked surprised. Blinked at the messy daughter. What is all the yelling about? I thought something was on fire. This man also rang the doorbell. Miss Theodosia, you saw what happened. You are a witness to all this, to what Quintessa did. Quintessa grabbed the neighbor by the arm. Dragged her into the apartment. My mother has lost her mind. She sold everything in the apartment. Everything is completely cleaned out. The furniture, the silver, the paintings. All of it is